From the age of 17 to about 20 or 21, I used to set goals all the time, a new goal every month. That wasn't because I was doing really well and achieving them all, but rather because I was never achieving any of them. And so I would set a new goal, but this time, this goal, this one would be different. I would achieve this one, but yet I never did. I knew what I had to do to achieve my goals. I knew the actions I needed to follow. I knew the habits I needed to build. Heck, I had an entire plan drawn out with every intricate detail of what I needed to do to achieve it. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do the things I knew I needed to do. At least not consistently enough for a long enough period of time, and eventually I would just self-sabotage. It meant my progress was incredibly volatile. Sometimes I would make a ton of progress and go way up, but then I would self-sabotage and drag myself right back down to where I started. This is the most common reason people don't achieve their goals. Like, think about it. Pretty much everyone sets a goal. Well, we all set goals unconsciously, but in this context, I'm talking about consciously setting a goal, something that we desire to achieve. And when you set a goal, the first thing you do, or at least that most people do, is go and figure out what you need to do to achieve that goal. So you have a goal, you know what you need to do, you have the plan, but yet you can't do the things that you need to do. You can't follow your plan for long enough or consistently enough to achieve your damn goal. Why? You know what you need to do. You know how to do it. So why can't you do it? Well, first, you need to understand that a goal is just a result. A goal is an outcome, and the actions and habits that you have to do that are in your plan to achieve that goal are the cause of that outcome, because every outcome has a cause, every output has an input, and the habits and actions that you have to do are the input. They're the cause of that outcome that is achieving your goal. But your actions are dictated by who you see yourself to be, your identity. If you don't see yourself as someone capable of being productive, being disciplined, being successful, and achieving this certain goal that you have, then eventually you will self-sabotage. Let me use an example, okay? Your identity is like the Earth. If your goal is to get into space, you can jump and you can push yourself from the Earth, but you will only get so far before gravity pulls you back down. You can also get in a plane. You can take off and fly, and you can stay in the air for a certain period of time, but eventually gravity will pull you back down. If you try to take actions that are outside of the actions that are deemed possible by your identity, or deemed outside of where your identity wants to go in life, eventually your identity will pull you back and stop you from taking those actions. You can only act outside of your identity for so long. Hence, if your identity is all messed up, you can only do the things that you need to do to achieve your goal for so long, and chances are that period of time is not long enough to achieve your goals. And sure, you can and should focus on building discipline and building consistency, because they will help, and they will help to prolong the amount of time you can take the actions outside of your identity for. But building your discipline and consistency is like getting into a damn plane and taking off. Planes can't escape the Earth's gravity, and eventually they will be pulled back down to Earth. Instead, what you need to do if you want to achieve your goals, what you have to do is change how you view yourself. You have to change your identity and become someone who naturally does the things that you need to do, the actions, the habits, the behaviors necessary to achieve your goal. Because here is the other thing about goals, okay? Goals are things that you do not have and you can't just get. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a goal. You would just go and get the thing that you want. So the reason you have a goal and don't just go and get the thing you want is because you're not yet the type of person that is capable of achieving it. Because if you were the type of person capable of getting the thing that you want, you would be capable of doing the actions that you need to do to get it. You would have all the right knowledge, and you would have achieved your damn goal. And you would just go and get it because you're capable of getting it. But since you haven't just went and got it, you must not be capable of getting it yet. You must not be that person yet. And so the solution is obvious. You need to become them. You need to become someone capable of achieving the things you so badly want to achieve. You need to rewire your identity to allow the actions that you need to take to be the easy and natural option. You need the actions that you need to take to be second nature and obvious. Because if you don't, eventually you will self-sabotage and you will drag yourself back down to earth. What you need to do is to get in a damn fucking spaceship, escape Earth's gravity, and land on another planet where the gravity, the atmosphere, the terrain, and the possibilities are completely different. You need to rebuild your identity, how you see yourself. Now, maybe the Earth and planet analogy wasn't the best, but you get the picture. You need to change. Remember, you cannot act outside of the identity that you have for yourself. If you see yourself as someone who cannot be successful, your subconscious will do everything it can to ensure you cannot be successful. As the psychologist Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will dictate your life and you will call it fate. If your unconscious version of you is doomed to be a failure, the conscious version of you is doomed to be a failure as well. And you will think that that is just how it's meant to be. Unless you change it. Unless you break down the damn walls of your current identity and rebuild it from scratch. Now, this isn't an overnight process, and really it's never ending. You know, you rewire your identity, you make a certain amount of progress and you achieve a certain goal, and then you have to rewire another part of your identity and repeat this process of each new goal. This can get quite deep into Jungian psychology and shadow work, something I am by no means an expert on, but something I will likely explore over the next few months because it seems quite interesting. But your identity is largely formed through repeated experiences and trauma. I don't like that word. I think it's completely overused in our easily offended and babyish society, but there are still some genuine traumatic experiences out there. We can't deny that. Severe bullying, abuse, etc. Most of these experiences that shape our identity happen during childhood, when our brain is easily malleable and highly absorbent. It's like a sponge. It takes all those times where your parents told you that you had no money to buy X, insert nice thing that everyone had, but you didn't when you were a child, to imprint into your identity that money is scarce and that you'll never have money. It takes the bullying that you experienced at 13 to make your identity believe that you're powerless and have no control. The result of these experiences, or whatever your experiences were, is a bit of a paradox. You chase money and control because you were denied them as a child, but yet every time you chase them, your identity pulls you back and stops you from getting either because it believes that you're not the type of person to have money or control, so it sabotages yourself. And this can go on and on and on for a ton of different problems. Now, with these problems and limiting beliefs, does that mean your identity will stop you from achieving anything at all? No. Of course not, okay? It's not how it works. But eventually you will set a big enough goal and your identity will think that you've jumped too high and it will pull you back down to earth. Does this also apply to everyone? Yes, it does. But to some people, it applies lesser extent. Some people have never had that many traumatic, again, I hate the word, experiences. And some people took to rewiring their identity automatically without even realizing they were doing it. Either way, whether you have a massively limiting identity or not, I see absolutely no downside to consciously choosing to reframe how you view yourself in the most positive way, other than change. But change isn't really a downside. Change is inevitable. You can't control whether change happens or not. Things are always going to be changing. But what is controllable is whether things change for the better or for worse. And that, my friend, is up to you. By consciously choosing to rebuild your identity into an advantageous light, you're choosing change that benefits you. Yes, you know, some people won't like that change. Some people won't like that you are improving, and they'll do everything they can to stop you from changing. They will try to sabotage you and tempt you into vices. They will try to tell you that you don't need to change. But this in itself is a character flaw and a limiting belief their own identity has, and something that they themselves need to change. Those who fight change are those who need change the most. So look, of course, this can and it will be tough, difficult and challenging, but so is all change. And if you don't make this positive, advantageous change, if you don't fundamentally rewire how you see yourself, you're never going to get to where you want to go, and you're never going to achieve your goals. It is crucial. Let me give you, a quick example here. If you want to build a business to $100,000 a month, but your identity is that of someone who cannot make more than $10,000 a month, you will never take the actions, make the decisions, or do the things that you need to do in your business to scale it to that next level. Because people don't have business problems, they have personal problems that are reflected in their business. Think about it. The only thing stopping you from scaling your business further is the actions you take and the decisions you make in your business. After all, certain actions and decisions got you to where you are now, so certain actions and decisions will get you past where you are now. However, your actions and decisions are dictated by your identity, by how you see yourself. So if you want to scale your business, you need to make the right decisions and take the right actions, which requires you to have the right identity. Because remember, you cannot act outside of your identity. And of course, that applies to every goal and not just a business income goal. So with that, I'm going to walk you through the process that I have been following for the past 2 or so years that has allowed me to rewire my identity, achieve my goals, build a multi-six-figure business, and grow my audience to over 600,000 followers. This is a crucial step to peak performance, becoming all you can be, and self-mastery, which is why it's a massive part of the first module of Mastery OS, my self-mastery course, which of course, if you're interested in, it will be linked in the description below, so feel free to check that out. So step 1 is to set your sights. We went rather deep into identity in this video, but the whole point of going into identity was so that you can achieve your goals, because it is the exact reason you haven't and can't achieve them. With that, to start rebuilding yourself and your identity, you need to start with your goal. I don't really care what your goal is, okay? Just figure out what your goal is. There's a whole science and all to goal setting, but that's not for this video. Figure out your goal. Whatever it is, write it down on a piece of paper right now. As always, with goals, do yourself a favor and give yourself the best chance of achieving them by ensuring that it is reasonably unreasonable in terms of size and that it's specific, because your goal needs to be reasonably unreasonable. Because remember what a goal is. A goal is something that you don't have and can't just get. Hence, to get it, you need to improve and level up. If you set a goal that is too small, you might not have to level up and make changes to achieve it. Hence, it's not really a true goal, and it will hold you back in the next steps to rebuilding your identity. It also needs to be specific so that you can make a plan for it to achieve it. There's a whole entire science behind and art to setting goals and deadlines and time constraints for goals, which if you want me to go over in a future video, let me know by leaving a comment below. But once you have your goal written down on paper, move on to step 2. Step 2 is, who do you need to become? Remember, you need to become the type of person who can achieve your goal. You need to become the one who can. To become that person, you need to know who that person is. So underneath your goal, start writing about what sort of person would be capable of achieving the goal that you set in step 1. Define them in every way you can. What habits do they have? What characteristics do they have? What traits do they have? What mindsets do they have? What behaviors do they have? What actions do they take daily, weekly, and monthly? What habits do they not have? What characteristics do they not have? What traits do they not have? What mindsets do they not have? What behaviors do they not have? What actions do they not take? Be as detailed as you can be about that person, who they are, what they do, what they don't do, and what sort of life they live. The best part about this is that by having this person in mind, you can pursue becoming that person and achieve your goal. Because goals aren't necessarily achieved. Identities are created, and with those identities, the goals are automatically achieved. If you can achieve a certain identity and become a person capable of achieving your goals, your goal will be achieved as a byproduct. Remember, if you were the person capable of achieving your goal, you would have already achieved it. So logically, if you become the person capable of achieving your goal, you will achieve it. Hence, your main focus should not be on the goal, but instead it should be on becoming the person capable of achieving your goal. Listen to that. I'm going to say it again. Your main focus should not be on achieving your goal, but it should be on becoming the type of person capable of achieving your goal, because then your goal will be achieved as a byproduct. And you will never be able to achieve your goal until you are that person capable of achieving it. Now, once you have detailed out this person, you need to follow step 3. Step 3 is, who are you? So what you need to do here is write at the top of the page, who is your name? So, I would write, who is Ross Harkness? And underneath, what I want you to do is write about yourself in the third person as if you are that person you wrote about in step 2. So let's say in step 2, you said the person who would be able to achieve your goal was ruthless with his time and he didn't let anybody abuse it. I would write down in step 3, Ross Harkness is ruthless with his time, he doesn't let anybody abuse it, and so on. And basically you write about yourself as if you are the person in step 2. Now, what you also want to do is write about yourself as if you've already achieved your goal. So if my goal was to earn $100,000 a month, I would write this in step 3. Ross earns over $100,000 a month through his X, whatever business I wanted to build. What you're doing here is pretty much creating a document that lays a foundation for you becoming that person that you need to be. You can even take it further and, write about your dream life, the cars you drive, the house you live, your partner, your dog, and all the rest. That bit is up to you, but I would recommend you do it. The most important thing about this step is that you write about yourself in the third person and as if you are already the person you wrote about in step 2 and as if you have already achieved your goals. This document, you want to read it every morning and every night, without exception. Yes, I know this sounds like some corny law of attraction manifestation crap, but think about it logically. Your identity and beliefs were formed through either trauma or repeated experience. Hence, we don't want to give you trauma. We don't want to put yourself through that consciously, but to rebuild your identity, you therefore, because we don't want to put you through trauma, you need repeated experience. This act of reading about who you are or who you want to become and what you have achieved is a repeated experience that over time will rebuild your identity. However, it is useless if you do not follow this next step. So step 4 is stacking evidence. Reading about who you are or who you're going to become is both useless and pointless if you're not doing anything to become that person. You don't just become someone. You have to earn the right to be them. You have to put in the damn work and you have to build yourself into that person. Build yourself. There's that quote about man being both the marble and the sculptor. Man cannot remake himself without suffering. I think I said that backwards, but the quote still stands. Okay? You cannot just become someone without effort, without intention, and without intensity and drive. You have to put in the work. So now that you know who you need to become, what actions they take, what habits they have, and all the rest, you want to start consciously taking those actions and doing the things that the person you need to be would do. And every single time you take an action or do anything that that person would do, you write it down. The way I would recommend you do this is to create a notes document on your phone. As the title, write down a quick summary of the person you are building yourself into. So a snapshot in 3 to 5 words of the identity that you're crafting. For example, a disciplined, driven, successful entrepreneur. And every time you take an action, perform a habit, or do something that that person you wrote about in step 2 would do, you write it down in this notes document. Here you are again creating repeated experience that you are this person. You're building momentum, building self-respect, and creating evidence that you are that person. This helps keep your focus on becoming the person you need to become, because remember, that should be your focus. And eventually, it's not overnight, but you will become that person. But you have to stack the damn evidence every single time you do anything that that person you're trying to become would do. You have to create proof and evidence that you are that person. So you read about it, and eventually that seeps into your subconscious slightly, but it's this work, it's this effort, it's this daily discipline that really transforms you. Okay? So step 4, where you take the actions and stack the evidence, is the main step here. Step 3 is great, okay? You need to read this document and convince yourself that you are already this person. That way it's easier to take the steps in step 4 and stack the evidence. But over time, this cycle gets stronger, okay? And when you get to step 5, this is where it really sort of starts to take place. Step 5 is that you're no longer that person. Now, a massive reason people will fail at this, at rebuilding their identity, is because they keep doing the things that the old them would do. They keep watching porn, they keep eating junk food, they keep scrolling on their phone all day, okay? This is your old identity resisting change. Every single time you perform a mindless habit or give into a vice that is going to hold you back, That is your old identity resisting change. It is your old identity fighting death. Because for your new identity to be born, your old identity must die. By doing the things the old you would have done, you keep that identity alive and prevent your new identity from truly being built. So yes, you will need to make sacrifices. You will need to make some massive changes in your life and cut out all the crap that you know you shouldn't be doing, all the crap that doesn't serve you. If you are bored, instead of picking up your damn phone and scrolling, pick up a damn book. If you're hungry, instead of picking up junk food, cook something healthy or eat a bit of fruit. You need to remove what keeps you attached to your old identity. One of the best things you can do to help you with that is simply say, whenever confronted with a habit, action, or behavior that the old you would have given into, just say, I'm not that person. Seriously, you would be surprised at how powerful this is. Since you have been reading about who you are, since you've been stacking evidence and taking action, you will start to believe that you are that person and that you're no longer the person you used to be. As time goes on, this gets more and more powerful as your new identity gets stronger through you reading about who you are and taking the action and stacking the evidence, and your old identity withers away. If you're confronted with something that the old you would do, something that you know you shouldn't do, and something that will hold you back, remind yourself that you are not that person. And trust me, you won't do it. Just say to yourself, if you're trying to stop going out and partying every weekend because you know it sets you back 3 or 4 days and it ruins your productivity for the next week, you're trying to cut that out. Whenever your friend invites you out on a Saturday night, say to yourself, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that person. I don't go out and I don't get hammered and I don't get drunk every Saturday night because I am not that person. Okay, and you'd be surprised at how powerful this is because, like I said, you're stacking evidence, you're taking action, and you're reading about who you are. These 3 things, the reading about who you are, the stacking evidence, the taking action, and the stacking evidence, build your new identity. Okay, they help turn you into that person that you're reading about, that person you need to be. And because your new identity, your identity, if you imagine your identity as like a container, and the container can only hold so much volume. So as you build your new identity, your old identity is pushed out of the top of the container and there's less and less of it. Okay. So as you build that new identity, it gets stronger and the old identity gets weaker, so that whenever you are confronted with some sort of bad habit or vice or something you shouldn't do and you know you shouldn't do, you can just say, I'm not that person. And you have proof that you're not that person because you've been stacking evidence. So if you really struggle with it, what you do is you pull out your phone, you look at the notes document where you stack the evidence. You read every single bit of evidence that you have in your phone. Every single bit of evidence in that notes document that you are this new person, that you are this person that you need to be. And therefore you have literally evidence that you're no longer that old version of you that would do the bad stuff that you don't need to do, that you don't want to do. And so you have evidence and you can easily say, I am not that person. That is how you stop bad habits. Okay. That is how you stop doing bad habits. You build your new identity to be someone who does not do those bad habits. Simple. Okay. It takes time. Yeah, it's not overnight, but it takes time and it's worth it. And that is how you do it. Now, you can also use this to help you do the things that will build you into the person you need to be. If you are facing resistance to doing the work, to working out, to doing whatever it is that will benefit you, that you know you need to do, you say to yourself, I am that person. And again, it's the exact same reason, only in the opposite context. You have been reading about who you are, you've been taking action, you've been stacking evidence, hence you're building that new identity and pushing the old identity out. You can therefore, whenever you feel resistance to doing the thing that you know you need to do, you can just say to yourself, I am the sort of person that does this thing. And if you don't believe it, take out your damn phone, you look at your notes document and look at the stack of evidence that you have created that you are that person. And then you take the fucking action because that is who you are. Okay, I can almost guarantee no matter what identity you try to build, it will not be of someone who is lazy and procrastinates and does nothing and scrolls their phone instead of doing the work that they know they need to do. Everybody will build an identity of an action taker because everyone knows the value of action. Everybody knows how action is the only thing that creates true progress. So you will, if you follow all these steps, be able to do the work that you know you need to do. And if you're able to do the work that you know you need to do, you will eventually achieve the goals that you need to achieve, that you want to achieve. This is powerful and only becomes more and more powerful over time as you repeat the actions and build the momentum and build the identity. It becomes so powerful that you become the person that is capable of doing the things that you need to do to achieve your goals consistently enough for a long enough period of time, and you achieve them. That, my friend, is how you achieve your goals faster. You become the person you need to be to achieve them. You don't focus on the goal. You focus on becoming the type of person capable of achieving the goal.